Hi, I'm Lisa Leiter. In Chicago Business Today, nuclear power. The crisis in Japan is putting the U.S. nuclear power industry under the microscope. Chicago-based Exelon has 10 nuclear power plants nationwide, more than any other U.S. utility. 6 of those plants are here in Illinois. The company's chief executive said in an interview this week that Exelon will reassess a $3.7 billion plan to increase output at those plants because of what's happened in Japan. I sat down with Howard Lerner, the executive director of the Environmental Law and Policy Center, to talk more about the impact of the worst nuclear disaster since Chernobyl. On a very basic level, Howard, I think many people around here are wondering, are these nuclear power plants in Illinois safe?
We don't know yet. We have to assume that they are, that Exelon has every interest in having the plants be safe, and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is monitoring it. However, the horrific events in Japan that have been occurring, that all of us, our hearts just go out to the Japanese people, ought to lead everybody to hit the pause button for a little bit. There needs to be a comprehensive scientific, technical, engineering, and safety reevaluation of what's going on at the nuclear plants. Are there any safety concerns that require more attention? The nuclear power plants that we're having problems with in Japan right now are GE boiling water reactors. There are 23 reactors, similar type, similar design, similar vintage in the United States, and Exelon's Quad Cities 1 and 2 nuclear plants on the Mississippi River and Dresden 2 and 3 plants in Morris are the same type, same design. Obviously, they're in different locations. We don't expect a tsunami on the Mississippi River, but flooding is a concern. Tornadoes are a concern. And apart from catastrophic weather events and the impact they can have, these are old plants. They've been operating a long time. The term of art that's used sometimes is brittle. The constant bombarding of the radioactivity wears down the equipment. And it's time to, like I said, just pause.
What do you expect will be the impact, particularly on Exelon, of any further review by the government on safety and other issues?
We don't know. That's the very purpose for having more oversight, more review. We're already seeing impacts in the financial markets. Financial markets are seeing there being a considerable amount of risk with these nuclear plants, especially with the plants that are the same design and vintage and type as the plants in Japan. Over the last 3 days, Exelon stock has declined by about 7.5%. The overall market has declined, but clearly investors are saying that with regard to nuclear company stock, there's more risk, and that's bringing down the finances.
One of the major issues being discussed right now is this storage of spent fuel in the plant in Japan. Should there be, tighter restrictions on how that fuel is stored?
Absolutely. What we're finding in Japan is not all those plants were actually operating. Some of those were simply storing highly radioactive spent nuclear fuel. At Exelon Zion nuclear plant, which sits on the shores of Lake Michigan, they are storing spent nuclear fuel rods. The Great Lakes supply drinking water supply to 37 million people. They supply 22% of the fresh water in the world, and they're an ecological gem. This is not a good place to be storing spent fuel rods that are highly radioactive for a long time. And with regard to the other Exelon nuclear plants, we need to look at storage differently.
What should Exelon do? Where should they be storing that fuel?
Where we have spent fuel rods at nuclear plants, like Exelon has at all of its plants, they need to go back and reassess the redundant and the multiple safety systems to make very, very, very sure, and even more sure, but we don't have happen here what happened in Japan. And that means having, triply redundant safety systems and going back right now and reassessing and making sure.
Thanks, Howard, for joining us today. And that's this edition of Chicago Business Today. For more on this story, be sure to check out chicagobusiness.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday.